Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. Now this week, the list is a little bit more manageable. The last couple weeks, I know we've had about 20 titles altogether. This week, we're back down to 12 titles. We have 6 first appearances, 6 honorable mentions. Definitely some books in there for you guys to pick up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearances of the week, weekending October 21st, 2022. First up from DC Comics, Batman One Bad Day Penguin #1. This features the first appearance of the Umbrella Man. Now, with these DC titles, it really depends on what DC does with these characters going forward as to how important they're going to be in the future. We always say this with these DC subset series. You know, this Batman One Bad Day title series is not one of DC's tentpole series or mainstay title series. This is definitely an offshoot or secondary title series, so it really depends on what they do with this Umbrella Man character. If they bring this character into a small screen or big screen project or across other title series, it may be more important. But right now, it might just be in this particular series, which gives it definitely a limited importance. So for this one here, you know, for the cover price, you may want to pick it up and spec on, but we do think you have some time on this one. You can probably put this one here on your B-list for now, but keep an eye on it. Next up from DC Comics, Flash number 787. This features the first appearance of Omega Bam Man, an intergalactic pro wrestler. Now this one here, we really don't think this intergalactic pro wrestler is going to have any importance going forward. You know, we may be wrong, but it really depends on what DC does with this character. This sounds a little gimmicky to us. I think this one here will probably just stay within this story arc, and you probably won't ever see this character again. But like I said, really depends on what DC does. Now this one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up. You're definitely specking on the fact that DC may do something with this character in the future. But like I said, this one here, you can probably put on your B-list for now, but keep an eye on it. Next up from DC Comics, Flashpoint Beyond number 6. This features the first full appearance of Cleopatra Pack. There's also the first mention of the 13. Now once again, it really depends on what DC does with these characters going forward. You know, the Flashpoint Beyond title series is a little bit more heavily collected. There are a little bit more eyes on this particular series, but it really depends on what DC does with these characters. So this one here is definitely a spec bet if you choose to pick it up. Grab it if you like to spec on it. Otherwise, put on your B-list and keep an eye on it. Next up from Marvel Comics, Avengers number 61. This features the first appearance of T-Rex Starbrand. You know, we always say with these Marvel titles, it's usually a good idea to pick up the first appearance of new characters within these title series. You know, Marvel, Disney is still churning out a ton of media, small screen and big screen, you know, so you really don't know where any of these characters may appear and what Marvel plans to do with these characters. So typically, it's worth speccing on to grab these here for the cover price. This features the first appearance of T-Rex Starbrand. We really don't know how important that character is going to be going forward, but they are introducing the character into the Avengers title series. So this is one of the mainstay title series for Marvel Comics, so there may be some importance going forward, but once again, a little bit more speculative than usual, but still probably a good idea to pick up for the cover price. Go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. Next up from Marvel Comics, Moon Knight number 16. This features the first appearance of Lady Yulan, a gang leader. You know, Marvel Disney did a great job of rebirthing this Moon Knight franchise through the Disney Plus streaming series. So this one here, we do think is probably worth picking up and adding to your collection. You really don't know what Marvel Disney have planned for these new characters they're introducing into the comics. They could very well appear in the streaming series, the next season of that series. If they do, there's going to be a lot more eyes on the character. People are probably going to rush back and get the first appearance in the comics. So this one here is definitely worth picking up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And finally for Marvel Comics, Crypt of Shadows number 1. This features the first cover and second appearance of Bloodline. This also features the first appearance of Ravenette and Vince, Ghost Hunters. Now this is the premiere issue of this Crypt of Shadows title series from Marvel Comics, but like we always say, it's a good idea to pick up any first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles, and since this is the premiere issue of this series as well, probably a good idea to pick it up. You know, maybe a little bit more speculative than some of the other titles, but once again, you really don't know what Marvel Disney have planned for any of these characters that are introducing in the comics. These could become a big deal later on. You really don't know. Probably worth picking up for the cover price. Go ahead and grab this one here if you can. If you can't, put on your B-list and keep an eye on it. And now for the honorable mentions. From Cherry Bomb Comics, The Brooding Muse number 1. Now we put this one here on the list because these horror story anthology comics typically age really well. People do love to collect these, and there's not a lot of them sold when they first come out, so later on down the road, people do go back and pay a premium for these. You know, there's a lot of horror collectors out there, and people do love these horror anthology series. So this one here may be worth picking up the spec on. Grab this one here if you can. If you can't, put it on your B-list and keep an eye on it. Next up from Source Point Press, Postmasters number 1. In a post-pandemic America, a mail carrier sets out to deliver a mysterious letter while battling rugged terrain, highway robbers, and the wicked. Like we always say with these small press and indie publishers, if they get optioned for a small screen or big screen project, that is a big price driver for these books going forward. That being said though, Source Point Press hasn't really had a lot of their titles picked up in option in the past. I don't know if they've ever had any picked up, so this one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up. You know, you're respecting on the fact that this may be optioned in the future, and if it is, there's definitely going to be a few of these out on the market because a lot of comic book retailers are not going to carry excessive inventory of this book published by Source Point Press. This is definitely one that they're probably going to skip on or only carry 1 or 2 copies. So this one here is going to be undersold when it comes out. That is definitely a big price driver in the future. When you go to look for this in the future, going to be few of these on the market, so that is a big price driver. That's something to keep in mind. But once again, very speculative to pick up. If you can though, grab it for the cover price. We do think it's a good spec bet. Next up from DC Comics, Batman Superman World's Finest number 8. This features the origin of Boy Thunder. Now, it really depends on what DC does with the Boy Thunder character. You know, it might be more important to pick up the first appearance than it is the origin story. But you know, it really depends on what DC has planned for this character going forward. This is the Batman Superman World's Finest title series. This is not necessarily one of the tentpole series for DC Comics. So this Boy Thunder character really depends on his importance going forward. This is definitely a spec bet if you choose to pick it up. But this one here, we do think you probably have some time on. So put this one here on your B-list for now and keep an eye on it. Next up from Marvel Comics, Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 1. This is a 5-issue limited series that explores a darker take on the Spider-Man mythos as he travels to LA to battle demons. Now, this is one you definitely want to add to your collection. You know, any of these Spider-Man titles, especially these subset Spider-Man titles where they do these limited series where they do different takes on the Spider-Man character or the Spider-Man mythos, these are books you want to own, especially when they do darker takes. If they bring the storyline, their story arc into a small screen, big screen project, this is going to blow up. This is going to be huge. So for the cover price, this one here is definitely worth picking up. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from Fawcett Comics, Marvel Family number 1 Facsimile. Now this is a reprint of Marvel Family number 1 from 1945. Now, we mentioned this before with these facsimile reprint editions. These things have a big collector base and a secondary market, and they typically trade for a premium. So whenever they publish these facsimile editions of these really important comics, it's definitely worth picking these up for the cover price. So go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. And finally from Marvel Comics, Midnight Suns number 2. This features the origin of Agatha Harkness, a younger version of the Witch. You know, Marvel is definitely pushing this Agatha Harkness character. I think she actually has her own streaming series, or they're planning to do a streaming series for her. You know, whenever Marvel or Disney push a particular character or a particular storyline, you know, it's worth picking up those comics at the cover price. You know, they may have something up their sleeve. You really don't know what they're doing, but for some reason, they're really pushing this Agatha Harkness character. So it's worth owning the comic, in our opinion, for a couple dollars, because if they do something big with it, you're sitting on a winner for a couple bucks. If not, you're going to have to go back and chase it in the secondary market, and it's definitely going to be more expensive. It's going to be a speculative bet if you choose to pick it up, because you are specking on Marvel doing something with this character, but they are pushing this character very hard. So this one here, in our opinion, is worth picking up to spec on. Grab it if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on it. So there you have the 12 titles that we have for you guys this week. Please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. A thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.